This United Healthcare CEO shooting, it's got everyone talking, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into all the info we got, news articles, legal stuff, the whole 9 yards,
Mm,
to really get into this case, especially now after the accused, Luigi Mangione, has pled not guilty.
right.
It seems like there's more to it than just, the crime itself, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I think this case really touches on some anxieties people have about healthcare, about corporate power, even about the legal system.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm of all these hot button issues.
Mm-hmm.
So for folks just joining us, let's do a quick recap of what went down.
Okay.
Thompson, he was on his way to a conference. This was in Manhattan, December 4th,
Right.
and tragically he was killed.
Yeah.
Now, the suspect, Luigi Mangione, 26 years old, Ivy League grad, seemingly, from a pretty well-off background.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's facing charges that could mean life in prison.
And the charges themselves, they're pretty interesting. I mean, he's facing murder charges at both the state and federal level with this added element of terrorism. Terrorism. It's not every day we see both levels of government like really going after a case like this. Adds a whole new dimension to things.
Yeah, it's not just about convicting him. It's about, like you said, sending a message.
Oh, right.
But let's look at the evidence.
Right.
Okay. They found the gun. They found a fake ID.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the most intriguing thing, this notebook,
Oh, yeah.
filled with writings that they're describing as hostile toward the health insurance industry.
Mm.
And that really kind of throws a wrench in our understanding of Mangini and what his motive might have been.
That notebook, it's a big unknown right now. We don't know the specifics,
Okay.
but I can maybe give some context. You know, the kinds of grievances that people often bring up when we talk about healthcare, you hear about claims getting denied, people can't afford their medications, life-saving stuff. Right.
Struggling with just the bureaucracy of it all.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are issues that impact millions of Americans, and yeah, it's understandable that people get angry, frustrated.
Absolutely. And Mangioni's lawyer is already arguing he can't get a fair trial because of all the media attention and what he's calling this perp walk that Mayor Adams orchestrated. I bet a lot of people don't even know what that means.
Yeah. No, it's basically when they parade the accused,
Mhm.
right? Often in handcuffs, surrounded by police.
Okay.
It's supposed to show, law enforcement did their job,
Yeah.
caught the guy,
Yeah.
but critics say can really prejudice a jury. I mean, it makes the person look guilty before the trial even starts.
Right. And Mangioni's lawyer even called him a human ping pong ball,
Yeah.
bouncing between state and federal courts.
Hmm.
So what's the strategy here? Why go with both state and federal charges? What advantage does that give the prosecution? Well, it's a tactic. It's something they sometimes do in these really high-profile cases or very complicated ones.
Mm-hmm.
It lets them essentially build two separate cases, each with its own set of laws, and potential penalties. And in this case, the federal charges, they carry the possibility of the death penalty, which wouldn't be an option in the state case.
Wow. That's a huge difference.
It is.
So even though the state case will likely be tried first, that potential federal death penalty is kind of looming over everything, isn't it?
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
really is, yeah. And it's easy to get caught up in the legal stuff, but we can't forget there's this bigger picture here too.
Right.
This whole case, it's become like this lightning rod.
It has.
People arguing about healthcare, corporate power, what it means to be American,
Yeah, everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
And they're not shy about sharing it.
No, not at all.
It's like some people see Mangini as just a cold-blooded killer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, end of story, deserves whatever he gets. But then others, they see him as, I don't know, like a desperate guy driven to do something terrible
Yeah.
by a system that they feel is broken.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This case has become a kind of Rorschach test.
It has.
Shows you what people's biggest fears are, their frustrations with healthcare in this country.
I got to admit, I've even been thinking back to my own experiences,
Oh, yeah.
dealing with insurance companies, trying to figure out those crazy medical bills.
That's a nightmare.
It's so frustrating. And that's on a good day. I mean, imagine if you're dealing with chronic pain or a serious illness.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why that notebook, Mangione's notebook, that's the key to all of this.
It is.
What did he go through? What's in those pages?
Well, the prosecution said the writings were hostile towards the health insurance industry. But what does that even mean?
Right.
What kind of language, what kind of things would they consider hostile?
Yeah, that's a good question. And look, we're not saying violence is ever okay, but we do need to try and understand what might drive someone to that point, right?
Hmm.
So, hostile language, I mean, it could be anger, resentment, maybe even threats,
Okay.
maybe stories about claims being denied, struggling to afford medication, feeling ignored by the system.
It's kind of scary to think about someone getting that desperate.
It
And
is.
and it makes you wonder about the victim, Brian Thompson. Was he targeted specifically, or was he just like a symbol of the whole healthcare industry?
That's what investigators are trying to figure out, I'm sure. We know Thompson had a long career with United Health Group. He was CEO of the insurance arm for years.
Right.
So maybe Mangione saw him as, I don't know, the face of a system that he felt had wronged him.
Hmm. To really get that perspective, though, I think we got to look at the public reaction, right?
Yeah.
The Time article, it mentioned protests supporting Mangini, people with signs chanting against the healthcare system. What what's that telling us?
It's showing you how much anger there is out there, how frustrated people are with healthcare in America. It's seen as this confusing, expensive system, lots of bureaucracy.
Right.
People feel powerless, like they're not being heard.
Yeah, and it's not just individuals feeling that way.
Right.
This case has got corporations worried about security too.
Oh, for sure.
If the CEO of a major health insurance company can be targeted like this, what does that mean for other high-profile executives?
I mean, it's a disturbing trend we've seen, right? Violence against public figures, politicians, celebrities. Now it seems corporate leaders are in the crosshairs too.
Scary thought. Makes you wonder if we're just going to see more security everywhere, more guards, more distance between executives and the public.
It's possible, yeah. But more security, that can create problems too, right?
Yeah.
Makes people feel isolated, distrustful, widens the gap even more between the powerful and the people they're supposed to serve.
It's like we're stuck in this vicious cycle.
Yeah, it feels that way sometimes.
So how do we break out of it? How do we even begin to address these issues, the things that are making people so angry?
That's the million-dollar question. It's complicated, no easy answers, but I think the first step is admitting there's a problem,
Okay.
listening to the people who are hurting, and having an honest conversation about how to make healthcare work for everyone.
Yeah. Feels like we're, I don't know, standing at a crossroads here,
Yeah.
facing some really tough questions about healthcare, about where we're going as a society.
It does, yeah. And this case, with all its twists and turns, it really brings those questions to the forefront, doesn't it?
So let's try and sum this up. We've got Luigi Mangione, young guy, privileged background,
Yeah.
accused of this shocking act of violence.
Yeah.
You've got all this evidence against him, but then you've got his lawyers saying, hey, he's being painted unfairly, he can't get a fair shake. And then there's the public, and they're all over the place.
Yeah.
It's not a clear-cut reaction.
You've got it. It seems simple on the surface, right? Crime and punishment.
Yeah.
But there's this whole other layer, this anger, this frustration directed at the healthcare system. And Mangine, he's become like a symbol of that for some people, a desperate man pushed too far.
But for others, he's the villain.
Right.
And no matter what happens in this trial, no matter the verdict, it's going to have consequences.
Well, absolutely.
Beyond the courtroom. I mean, this could change how corporations do security. It could fuel more debate about healthcare reform. It could even affect how people view the legal system itself.
Exactly. If he's found guilty, maybe some people feel closure. But it could also widen that gap, between the people who think the system is broken and those who believe in it.
And if he's not guilty,
oh, that's a whole other can of worms. People will question if the justice system even works, if anyone can be held accountable, especially the powerful.
it's a fascinating case study, like you said, not just the legal stuff, but what it tells us about ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Our anxieties, our divisions.
We've covered a lot, but honestly, it feels like we've just scratched the surface. So, to everyone listening, we'll leave you with this. As this case goes forward, don't just focus on the headlines. Listen to the conversations happening around it. What does this say about us? About how we view power, institutions, each other? The answers, they might surprise you. And the deep dive, it doesn't end here. Thanks for listening, everyone.